The LSAT is not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Hey, what's up everybody? Steve Schwartz here from LSAT Unplugged, joining you today to share why the LSAT isn't going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Before I get into it, a little bit about LSAT Unplugged. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. Check out the links below this video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd love to help you out. So the reason I'm making this video is that students are always asking me, isn't the LSAT being removed? Isn't the LSAT requirement going to be gone? Do I still have to even study for the LSAT? And I know that there's been a lot of headlines out there in the media suggesting the LSAT's going to be gone forever and you don't need to study for it anymore. That simply is not true. The American Bar Association has floated the idea a number of times of revising Standard 503 to remove the requirement that law schools use a standardized test like the LSAT. However, that has not actually gone before the House of Delegates for a full final vote. They have continued to kick the can down the road multiple times and cannot seem to come to a concrete, firm agreement on removing the requirement. There was also a last-minute amendment to the proposed revisions that the removal of the requirement would not even go into effect until the fall of 2025. And it seemed like it was a done deal, but then the House of Delegates didn't even vote on it for some inexplicable reason. And so what this means is that law schools are still required to use an admission test like the LSAT, and it usually is just the LSAT. In some cases, the GREs managed to worm its way in there. But it's also worth considering that even if the ABA were to remove the requirement that law schools use a standardized test like the LSAT, law schools would still continue to require it even if they were not required to do so. That's an LSAT tongue twister for you there. But basically, as it currently stands, the ABA requires law schools to use the LSAT. Even if the ABA removed that requirement, law schools would still be free to require it of their own accord. And they likely would because they find it useful. No one requires law schools to weigh the LSAT more heavily than GPA in their admissions calculations, yet the majority of law schools do so anyway, of their own accord, likely because they find it useful in evaluating applicants, given that applicants may have different majors, come from different universities with different degrees of grade inflation. Some majors are easier than others. And so it's hard to compare a 3.5 in English and say it's equal to a 3.5 in engineering, because engineering, frankly, is a lot more difficult. The curves in those classes are a lot tougher and more rigorous. And so the LSAT, in contrast, is going to evaluate applicants the same, regardless of their background. Additionally, U.S. News factors LSAT scores into consideration when determining a school's place in the rankings, and so admitting applicants with high LSAT scores is a good way for schools to raise their status in the rankings. And so all this to say, the LSAT isn't going anywhere. The ABA has not even voted to remove the requirement, and if they were to vote and go forward with removing the requirement, it likely would not go into effect for a few years. And even if that rule change went into effect in a couple of years, law schools would likely still require the LSAT because they find it useful. All this to say, keep studying. So anyway, folks, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please do me a favor and share the video link with someone who needs to see it. Maybe there's someone in your LSAT study group or in your LSAT prep course who has been thinking to themselves, I don't need to study for the LSAT that much anyway, since it might not even be required in the near future. You can let them know in this video directly that that is simply not true. The LSAT is still here, and the majority of law schools do still require the LSAT specifically. In the meantime, folks, I wish you all the best and take care.